Kathy Marshik from the Morrison County Veterans Service Office, here again today with one of my wonderful veterans from a Korean War veteran. He also had several years in the National Guard, so he was a Marine from the Korean War and then also had many years in the Army National Guard. We have Mr. John Faust and his wife Joan. So John, can you tell us a little bit about your career in the Marines and the Korean War? Kind of what made you join, or were you drafted? What happened there?
I joined the Marines 10 days after the Korean War started. I didn't think I could get into anything because when I got to Minneapolis, every door had people lined up to get in. And then my buddy that I was with said, "Come with me around the corner." And I did. There was one door, and there was nobody there. So, needless to say, that's how I ended up getting ahead of the situation, see? I told one of them inside, I said, "You don't want me. I weigh 114 pounds. And I said, I'm not very tall. And I'm going to try, but I don't know." He says, go down and meet those Navy doctors downstairs. They'll tell you whether we can use you.
So what did they say about that 114 pounds? I can't even believe that.
That's what it was.
Wow.
And when we got to the rifle range, they said, "Have you ever fired a weapon?" I said, "No."
Yeah.
"Pistol?" "No." They did a loop and a jump and said, "I get 'em." Now I thought, why would they want me? And it's because he told me the guys that come in that have been taught by their dads and for hunting and fishing and all that, and I had told him I didn't have a chance to do all that stuff. He says, "We'll see how it goes." And he took me out in front of the platoon when we went home, or back to the barracks. And he says, "Gentlemen, from now on you know enough. Don't mess with the feather merchant and his M1.
You didn't have any bad habits. They could teach you the correct way.
That's what it was.
That's
You told it
exactly.
like a soldier.
I did. Well, I had a little bit of experience. So from there, so you didn't meet your wife Joan until after Korea, correct?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. So did you guys know each other prior to?
No.
Okay. But how can you tell us a little bit about your experiences in Korea? Because we don't hear a lot about Korea and the Korean War, that kind of thing, and so I'd really enjoy hearing.
It's one of the things that turns my fur sometimes, because that's exactly what it was. It was the unknown war. I've heard it mentioned by radio announcers and stuff like that, and it always gets any of us that were in the Corps, whether they've been in Korea or not.
Thank you for being there, and
Yeah.
that's why I want to hear about it. I think this will be wonderful. I think it's great for our community to hear more about it.
I was there a year.
Okay.
I was in Item Company, 5th Marines.
What was it like living outdoors in Korea? Because I know it was cold, so can you talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the people you met there,
Yes.
if that's all right?
I have a picture somewhere in there
Okay.
of a guy whose dad used to be the mayor of Little Falls. His name was Dick Grimes.
Oh, okay.
And as a kid, we played together. I was a block away. He found out he was with the 11th Marines, which is the artillery. And he found me. And I just about fell over. Here was a guy from Little Falls.
How many
yes.
meals a day did you get?
We got rations.
Rations, okay.
Rations for 3 meals,
Okay.
called a sea ration.
Oh.
Everything we had came from World War II.
In cans, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And
so
packages
those that don't know what sea
sometimes.
rations are, they come in cans or packages that have been that way for a long time.
They were different.
Now, could you warm them up at all?
Yes.
Okay, so you did have ways that you could warm them up if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
if you were in a position where the enemy couldn't see a fire or things like that, you didn't want to give your position away.
Yeah. And I'm sure water wasn't necessarily plentiful either,
No,
or clean.
you had to take pills for that.
So when you got back from Korea, you had a long history of military after that, and did you join the Army National Guard right away?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
because I wanted to marry this good-looking girl here.
Ah, yeah, she's a pretty lady.
I didn't know that, but it became apparent.
Yeah.
And I did, because you can't have a family. I didn't feel in the Corps because you're on the go pretty much all the time.
Right.
I whispered so I wouldn't hurt their recruiting.
Well, it's a hard life, so yeah.
But you asked me about the Corps, now going into the Guard. And I got a job at Camp Ripley. And I spent 36 years in the Guard, and I watched it from kind of needing some work and what it became in these small wars we're having now, starting from about what, some years ago now already. The National Guard took over a big chunk of the war.
Yes, it has.
Whether it's service and supply and things like that, or people with rifles too.
When you
I
first
was already-
joined, you had to straighten them out a little bit, didn't you?
I did do some of that because I'd been a drill instructor. They were going to have a lot of people in Germany when the German tanks, Russian tanks, and American tanks were facing each other. And that could have been World War III. So everybody their paperwork was being done fast. And I was told I had to go to another unit and given a list of what they were. And I got into tanks in Long Prairie. And I went from being an infantry type, I became a tanker.
And that was probably easier with the Marines. It's more structured, not more military, but there's just a different mentality when you're active duty compared to the National Guard, particularly in those days. Not so much anymore, it's a lot different. But for you to make that switch over, something that was more infantry-like was probably more up your alley. Coming from the Korean War and stuff, I would imagine.
During my combat time, we hesitated and didn't like hearing our own tanks because when they got wherever they were, we're up here, tanks can't go up there. And they'd be looking for shots at the tanks, and the tanks would be taking care of business. And we'd always say, got to watch for that one that says to whom it may concern.
Oh.
So that was another thing. At any rate, that's
You made it all the way to Sergeant Major.
Command Sergeant.
Command Sergeant Major. And so you got out just as I was joining the Army National Guard, and we in the 747th Maintenance Support Battalion, so that's pretty cool. So we just missed each other somehow or another, but how neat. I do remember hearing your name, though.
Do you?
I do. Yeah, yeah.
They probably are saying that guy.
No.
I had a hard time readjusting myself as a drill instructor to work for the Guard, you know. It was a lot different. But the Guard, there's plenty of people doing that too, of other types of outfits.
Yeah.
And that showed up when these little wars started.
How many children do you have?
8.
8 children.
4 girls, 4 boys.
Wow.
And they're all better looking than me.
I got it all from Joan, huh?
That's right.
No.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. I love seeing the picture, and I love hearing your personal stories. I love hearing things about your family. And so besides the military, what else did you do career-wise? Did you work at Camp Ripley full-time, or did you do something else?
Oh, I was working full-time.
Okay.
Well, I think I mentioned that before.
Okay.
And it kept the kids fed, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when I felt I had enough, I decided not to stay in anymore. And of course, I had plenty of 42 years altogether in a
That's a lot.
uniform.
That's a lot in a uniform, Marine and Army.
You can make a lot of
Amazing.
mistakes in that time.
Hey, that's how you learn. That's how you learn. Everything that you do.
But I was so
is a learning
happy
experience.
with the way the Guard functioned during this series of small. They fight the war different. You know, I wasn't used to the way they fight the war. We were like in World War II, you know. Even after I left from Korea, it got different, you know, more that way.
Right.
Fight for one place after the other, kick each other off the hill.
There you go. Well, this is one strong, very strong individual, and another wonderful story with many years, 42 total years of service. Unbelievable. And I love hearing about the Korean War and also a little bit about the National Guard, that even though we have so much of the National Guard in our area, we didn't know as much about it. And just learning in your earlier years that you actually introduced the first female and then later on worked with many, so that was very neat. But I love these stories, and again, thank you from the Morrison County Veterans Service Office. Have a great day.